I'm Jess from Jess Saying, and I'm just saying I can make you better at Elden Ring. I can make you better at all video games and make your life better. Whoa, that's a tall order, but hang on, I got some book learning. Oh yeah, we're going biochemical. Let's go! Here's the real reason you can't be evil in video games, aka how you can be way better at Elden Ring. I think I'm going to leap right in. Basically, I'm telling you actual scientific facts today, which is not perhaps in the spirit of just saying, where I just sit here rambling things at you, just rocketing thoughts straight up, whatever comes to mind, and you guys wonder if I'm drunk or have taken too much of my ADHD medication or not enough. But no, we're dealing with some real, I have studies. It's going to be so good. So basically, the headline that I want to go with here, at least initially, is why it's hard to be evil in video games. Now, if you love being evil in video games, actually it kind of applies to you too. Hang on, I'll catch you with that later. But one of the reasons why you might find it difficult, or at least I find it difficult or nigh on impossible, is your brain has a rewards center. So in our brains, as you might know if you've tried VR or any basic things where it's like, well, I am now underwater. They're quite simple. They don't quite have the capacity to differentiate. Like when you're moving around with a controller in VR, you may find you get very motion sick because there is a disconnect between what's happening physically, what's happening in your head, and the things that you are processing through your senses. So the interesting thing about the reward center is we're actually biologically geared to receive the good endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, these positive chemicals that cause you to slow down, be calm, and feel happier when you're smiling. And when are you smiling? Maybe when you're playing a video game and you're doing the sweet thing. You're helping out this chick on the side of the underbelly of a brutal neon city cyberpunk type planet, and she just needs you to go collect a bunch of papers for her. Is it exciting? No, not particularly, but you feel this innate, yes, do-gooding, the do-good feeling, the I want to be light side, I'm going to help that person needs money, go ahead. Assassin's Creed Shadows, pretty much every NPC I've run into so far needs money, and yeah, I could just not, but when I give them money, they're happy, and they're happy. Sometimes, often I think, it will cause you to smile ever so slightly. Now, you don't have to do a massive smile for these chemicals to be activated in your brain or for the reward center to be activated. Just doing that classic Mona Lisa smile, just like very slightly upturned lips, is enough to bring down, for example, the temperature of your brain. So the temperature of your brain will directly change essentially your mood. You're going to have higher intensity of negativity, of unwanted emotions, all that kind of thing. Whereas a cooler brain results in more of the positive things that you want. This is actually very technical. So let me run you through it. Basically, back in the 19th century, this psychologist, William James, proposed the idea that it's actually our facial expressions that lead to our emotional feelings, not the emotional feelings leading to the facial expressions, as in the symptom is actually the way you feel, not the cause, which is kind of wild, but bear with me. There's a bunch of studies that have been done in the past where people were encouraged to look at a set of images of people having different expressions. And the people who, now in these studies, were asked to say, put a pen in their mouth. So they either had to smile a little bit because there's literally a pen there, or they were encouraged to do this thing that's called a Duchenne smile, where you just do this like really cheesy smile. And then there was a control group who just had a neutral expression. And those who were doing, whether it's the big fake smile or the slight smile, or even just the forced, your body and brain just interpret activating those muscles, the smile muscles, even if you're not technically smiling, as a positive thing, that would then lead to them seeing those images as a more positive kind of mood. You might take a neutral expression and see it as more positive, whereas those who were frowning, who had a neutral expression, had the opposite effect. It's also very interesting because smiling is contagious, which is why I'm desperate for your approval and to make you laugh every time I do one of these. It's something where, see, I just laugh now and I smile, and maybe you just watch me do that and you smile a bit. What happens is we're both having our rewards centers activated. So literally just by doing that, just by activating these facial muscles, whether you are laughing or you're slightly smiling or you're doing the chopstick between your mouth, so it just happens to be similar muscles thing, does impact the release of serotonin, endorphins, dopamine, all the things that affect your body in a whole bunch of ways that improve your mindset, your physical health, like a ton of different things. How does this impact video games? Well, I think in the same way that when you ingest anything, that's entertainment, that's bringing you joy. And the thing I think I should bring back to Elden Ring, which I just thought, and I think is so accurate, is if you smile and it has this calming, low-key, hey, have some good chemicals effect, that would actually put you in a better state to be better at Elden Ring, because frowning does the opposite. You keep the intensity, you keep the upset, and look, I'm not gonna smile, all right? The 20th time I'm fighting bloody Commander Nile. But if I did, I actually might have a better shot the next time around because of my brain, because it increases your ability to do things as simple as your memory activates in a more useful way. Your reflexes are better. By activating the dopamine, you're getting better blood flow. You're getting the reward-seeking feeling. There's a better stress response. Your heart rate changes, so your heart rate comes down if you do that. And as you probably know, if you played a bitchy ass video game like Elden Ring or something else, having more of a handle on those things, even though they seem perhaps arbitrary or it's all just brainwaves or chemicals, and how could it act that fast? It does have an impact, or at least it could definitely be a help, and far more of a help than you get from a frown. Now, the other thing it does, especially with the release of dopamine, is it increases your motor control. Because your brain's not running so hot, your brain's not freaking out and sort of like taking over with this incredible tension where your body is telling itself, we need to be on guard. It makes a better environment for you to focus and for you to click the triggers and dodge and parry and hit those windows you need to hit to make you better at video games. Then you got endorphins, which lower your stress response and reduce your pain perception. That's a body thing, but I mean, again, if you played a difficult video game, it can cause physical pain. Or there's the physical pain of when I'm a child and slam my fist on my desk. Probably not smiling when I'm doing that, but that does sound funny, so maybe I should. There is a caveat here that if you act like you're smiling with your whole mouth and face, but you hold the rest of your body in a state of tension, you're still kind of accidentally telling yourself that there is danger and it's just a facial expression. So that is the step back on how a fake smile might not work, but then that's sort of what's useful about this half smile, this Mona Lisa smile, where you're getting that, but there's a calming. So if you're like grabbing the controller and you're like, that's probably still, your body's like, we're on guard. Commander Nile's definitely taking us out this time. It's over, Red Rover. So back to this idea of the Duchenne smile, the social smile, and a neutral expression. The study that was done by, Tara Kraft and Sarah Pressman back in 2012. Notes, baby. Basically, the groups who were in each of these three categories were asked to perform a particularly stressful and difficult task. It wasn't playing Elden Ring or any of the old FromSoft games, but I feel like maybe it should have been. Maybe I should do this study. this is the cat thing. Maybe I should buy a boat. This is not what we're doing. Let's go back to the point at hand. Essentially, they were asked to do a stressful task, and the smiling, either type, where it was the big, cheesy, just hold your face apart Duchenne smile, or just the slight smile, both exhibited a lower heart rate than those who had the neutral expression. And lower heart rate means you're more effective at whatever you're doing, because you have those good hormones which are all feeding into your brain, your body, your motor skills to be more effective, which you need if you're playing Elden Ring. So the thing that's interesting about the temperature of your brain, which, as I've said, a lower temperature gives you, or at least simulates, positive and pleasurable emotions, and the warmer one, hot brain bad. Cold brain good, hot brain bad, hot brain negative. We not want hot brain. Elden Ring makes hot brain, but hot brain not super successful if we want to succeed at Elden Ring. This is kind of wild and very biological. So there was this guy, Dr. Robert B. Zajonc. I don't know if that's how you say it, but I think it sounds funny. He basically set off with the idea that, when you change the repositioning of your facial muscles by altering your expression, the biochemical processes that are connected with those areas are changed in accordance with the temperature changes specifically. So, for example, when specific facial muscles stretch or tighten, as they do when you smile or when you frown, it causes those veins to constrict. Now, when they do that, it cuts down on the amount of blood that goes through, which then causes a lower temperature. Lower temperature, we get calmer, we get better, we get a little bit happier. What happens actually when you frown is the opposite. When facial muscles tighten to, make intense, I can't deal with Commander Nile one more time, I'm gonna rip my head off. That results in this intense warming of your brain, which causes you to have your pulse sped up, body temperature increased, and generally sets you into that zone where you can't calmly and methodically read an enemy's attack patterns or recall them as accurately as you could if you had cold brain. Now, the way in which that relates back to the reason you don't want to be evil in video games, or you might feel bad about things. For example, I jumped into Starfield. I don't know what I did. I played like 170 hours of that game, but mostly it's just walking around with full bag. But I must have done something, because Sam, one of the companions, was really pissed at me. And I thought Sam was an okay guy. We hadn't massively bonded, but him being mad at me was terrible. I didn't love Sarah Morgan when I started, but you sort of get to know her. Of course, I'm talking about video game characters, but it doesn't really matter who we're talking about. It doesn't really matter if it's a real person. And smiling is contagious, because it's actually really hard to respond with a frown to someone else's smile. Your brain automatically wants to exchange a smile for a smile, no matter which side you're on that initiates it. So that, in effect, whether it's because you're watching something funny, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone looking at you. It's a comedy or a TikTok video, or, you're playing a video game that causes you joy, whether that's joy in completing something, taking something out, things as basic as having a conversation with an NPC, and they sound grateful, or they do anything that induces a positive feeling in you, or not even going as far as like me, where someone said something nice to me in Pirate Yakuza and I cried because I thought it was really nice. Not at my level, but if you just engage with someone and it's emotionally impactful for you, in a not necessarily, in fact, specifically not a sad moment, although that releases good chemicals too when you cry. But if it causes you to smile, even the littlest amount, that is giving you the good feelings. And then you relate that back to a character on screen or a game. And then you may associate that with a joy-causing experience, or like a companion you really care about in an RPG, or any character in a game that you sort of form a little bit of an attachment to and actually care about. There is a biochemical reason that that's happening. And so this might be something that you take along to any other situation where you're given a choice in a video game, and the choice is to do something nice or to do something evil. And a lot of people would probably choose to do something nice because then their brain feeds them the mess of good chemicals, because it's less likely that things are happening that would cause you to frown that actively makes you feel worse. Now, the caveat here, which I alluded to at the beginning and I hadn't thought of until I said that, is if you like being evil. Now, the wonderful thing about being evil here is because it's not the real world, you know? If you just like I do, when I play Starfield, for example, shoot first, ask questions later, or I don't know. Sometimes you just want to go rogue, you know, you just want to do whatever, mess around, or maybe you just love an evil playthrough. If you love that, if you like playing Commander Shepard and you get an opportunity to punch someone in the face and you're like, yes, that's joy. You're feeling joy. You're being hit by the same biochemistry that other people are getting when they help out poor suffering NPCs. If you're doing that and you're smiling, same applies to you. That reward center is hitting, and I guess your brain isn't like, but we were bad. Your brain doesn't care. It just likes that your facial muscles are moving in a smile way and not a frown way. So the fake smile works too, and of course that's kind of a thing. That's probably more of a thing in your day-to-day life, although maybe give it a shot next time you're playing a hard video game. Just see if smiling helps. You're going to come back to me in the comments and be like, bitch, no, that did not help at all. But, you know, give it a shot. I'll write the next study. They'll put me in these papers and then someone else will read it out and be like, when this chick was rambling on her WhatCulture show, she said the following. Essentially, like, it's not like a golden ticket to happiness. It's not like you're going to smile and be like, oh, you're just like flooded with all the good hormones and everything like that, the good feelings, then you're good to go. It's not like, you know, I'll smile when I've done the same Elden Ring castle over and over again. I keep getting shot back to the beginning. But it can, whilst it's not going to take unhappiness or frustration or anger, all of the Elden Ring feelings, and turn them into joy, it can elevate your mood from where it was. And even if it doesn't really feel like it makes you feel better at all, it is doing things chemically that over a shorter or slightly longer period of time are going to make you more effective, are going to make you better at what you're doing. Or in the case of, okay, maybe if you're killing someone in a video game, but probably more if you're having heartfelt conversations or engaging with characters you care about, that is just going to keep pinging your reward system. I mean, we know the reward system definitely works for, say, side quests, collectibles, ticking everything off, making sure you got everything in every area. That's giving you endorphins too. That's like, hey, well done. That's the reward chemical hitting you. But the fact that it can also enter in probably what is more a quiet way that you wouldn't normally think of, just by the act of entertaining you and eliciting like a heartfelt moment or an I really like this character moment, or yeah, I mean, of course it extends to like dialogue you think is funny or something strange happens, which might be why when you go back and think about games you really enjoy or like little bits and pieces, maybe you remember a side quest that you just found really entertaining, whether it was insightful or fascinating or just like slapstick or absurd or funny. And when you think about characters, perhaps like Morden from Mass Effect, I always get stuck on a couple games and then I can't remember any other game. He was his little song. He's a character that inspires a lot of smiling, even though you're sitting there by yourself, probably playing the video game. It's not another human we're talking about, and it's not even about the smile being exchanged there, because I mean, it's a bit harder to tell, I think, when he's smiling because he doesn't have a human face. I guess you kind of can. But anyway, what it is doing instead with a character like Morden is he does so many things and says so many things in a particular way that makes you smile, that makes you laugh, that makes you happy. And the recurrence of that is training your brain that this character, in a larger way, this video game, in a slightly smaller way, the way that they do companions causes you joy, is associated with you getting good feeling chemicals, which is why when they take out those characters, It's terrible. But don't worry, it just has to be so terrible that you don't frown, you instead cry, because then we come back around again, you get endorphins. Elden Ring. Yeah, so when we're talking about tricky games as well, and I know this is easier said than done. I'm not even saying I do it. I'm just reading you the papers. But basically, when you're in a stressful situation, when you're playing a stressful video game, whatever it is, maybe you know these people who interact, or you are these people who interact with a difficult game in this way, as opposed to me, who chucks a giant tantrum like I'm 8 years old. Essentially, it is more useful and will more likely lead to a successful outcome if you can keep a calm expression. In 2011, they did a study where it was shown that people were more attracted to images where people were smiling than those who weren't. And biochemically, basically what's happening here is that seeing a smile activates the orbitofrontal cortex. That's the bit of the brain that processes sensory rewards. So when you see someone smiling, you feel rewarded. So in a video game, for example, because our brains are simple and don't care about things like the virtual world and the digital world. When you see someone smiling, when you have a conversation with some NPC, when you make a decision and you cause happiness or see a smile, even something you perceive as a smile, because as with these studies, they were just looking at pictures of people, and we're just looking at digital animations of what are often the same as generally human features or human-like features where we can identify a smile. And when seeing that kicks off us feeling good, even if that's not an actual person who is a part of that reward exchange. Though if it is in the real world, they are part of that reward exchange, and you both feel better when you're both smiling. What I'm reading is not about video games, but let's say it. I'm going to read it to you, and you can imagine how this is about Elden Ring, or enter the hardest game you've ever played. All right, bear with me. The intention of the technique of smiling when you're in these stressful situations of video games is not to invalidate the pain and suffering you're experiencing as a result of the painful situation or event. It's not supposed to be telling your body you shouldn't feel the frustration or hurt or annoyance, and what happened shouldn't elicit those things. It absolutely can and should. In a lot of these instances, playing these video games you're probably thinking of right now. But it does send your body just the biological information to tell it, hey, we're okay, there's no threat, we can settle down. And that settling down puts you in a zone where you're more effective, where you've got the motor skills, where your brain is cold brain. Cold brain make better at video games. That's my new title. Maybe I should make that the title of this video. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting because, again, you might love being evil in video games, but also maybe that's because one of the reasons could be because you find that fun, or so fun that you might be having a more smile-inducing, laugh-inducing time than if you were being a good guy. So it kind of filters back in here too, which does nullify my title if it is still the real reason you can't be evil in video games. But that's okay. I feel like we've all arrived at the same place. But basically it does this thing where you're biologically engineered to understand that being good not only begets good, like say you come into a video game and, well, to be honest, there are video games where you get better rewards if you're good. But putting that to the side, there's also many instances where you'll feel like you want to do the good thing, and then that will feel like it's been reinforced. Like it's like that after the fact justification of a decision that's been already made. So you just tell yourself that that's the best one because it's done, it's in the past. It's the same thing where if you do decide to be good, you are most likely going to elicit even the tiniest of smiles. And again, the Mona Lisa smile is more than enough to make these things happen in your brain. And if you do that after the fact, or when there is a favorable outcome for someone else, or it just makes you feel good about yourself, you're going to completely associate being good with feeling good, because you are feeling good. You are chemically being induced to feel good because you did a nice thing. Or if you like being bad and that makes you smile, then that's encouraging itself too, which is probably why people either tend to go all good or all bad, because you sort of bought into the thing that is going to give you the most joy often, I think, which doesn't explain why anyone plays Elden Ring. But there is that moment too where the endorphins are released. You hit that fight or flight instinct, even though you're not in danger. There's enough of a tense feeling that you are. And when you come out the other side, you get all the good chemicals. When you defeat a bad guy in Elden Ring, even if the whole time you're like me, you were just like, so I didn't calm down or get better motor functions, which became obvious with how many times I had to take out Commander Niall. But afterwards, you smile because you accomplished it. And then that's rewarding you. So you're feeling, I'm getting that reward from doing this really difficult thing, or I'm getting that reward for being nice to someone in a video game, for building a relationship with a confidant that feels like it's in a meaningful way, to learning someone's backstory, anything that is advancing the good of any particular part of a video game, or, as I was saying in the last episode, a lot of JRPGs, where there is just this earnest, beautiful hopefulness that you can't help but smile at, and then that gives you a certain relationship with the game, with the hobby, with this amazing medium that I love so very much. And I think this is certainly a part of that, in the same way that lots of mediums are. But I always say, I do think the interactivity of video games is what really sets it apart, and what can sit far deeper in how affecting you find it emotionally, or how meaningful it is to you, especially when these are deep experiences, or they're experiences that go for hundreds of hours. Though at the same time, something as basic as playing through a Mario platformer, having that nostalgia, that joy, something that makes you smile, something, just doing the tiniest thing, pulling it off, hitting that flag at the end, and you're like, yeah, you are rewarded. So, I mean, I think it's not the most revolutionary thing to suggest that's why we play video games, because they make us happy. But the denser side on how nuanced it is in terms of how smiling can cause us to want to be good in a game, or it can be something that helps us just in the moment immediately be better at what we're doing, because it creates the kind of stress responses and chemicals that are going to aid you instead of work against you, which is when you're tense and frowning. It's kind of like it's an interesting thing to think about with video games, or at least I think it's an interesting thing to think about with video games. And that is what I do here at Just Saying. I think, that's interesting, I'm going to come tell you. And then I come tell you. And then I love your comments, by the way. I really appreciate everything you guys said on the JRPG video was really cool. I always look at your comments and I appreciate them very much. I like having these discussions. So I hope you found this kind of interesting. I'll close my workbook. Let me know if you want more science stuff, and I will get to researching. But otherwise, thank you for joining me. If you did make it all the way to the end of this video, what can you send me? Just send me a smile. Send me a smile. Send me a little emoji smile. Or you could even do a colon and a closed bracket. I will take it. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm smiling, so I'm happy. If you're smiling because I'm smiling, we're both happy. We get to take that forward. Enjoy the serotonin, endorphins, and dopamine. I'll catch you next time. Bye.